Hello, everyone. This is Sherry Osley with Child Nutrition Programs. I am the training specialist, and we are today going to do a training over our fresh fruit and vegetable program, FFVP training. Keep in mind, if there are people listening with you, be sure to have a sign-in sheet for them, the date of the training, what training they went to, and make sure that you put it with your training records as well. So let's get started. Let's get going on our fresh fruit and vegetable program grant training. The first thing we're going to talk about today is going to be our objectives of this training. I want to make sure that we all know what we're here for, what we want to learn about. So the first one is our goals of what's basically, we want to make sure that you make goals for your fresh fruit and vegetable program grant. We want to make sure you know who can participate. We want to also make sure that you have some guidelines for the program and what are the best practices that USDA wants to see you do. Also, too, we want you to understand how to claim for your reimbursement. One of the things I always like to do in a training, and I know it may seem kind of boring in a way, but I always like to do a little bit of history. What I thought was interesting about this program, it really started out as a pilot program in 2002, and it was only in 4 states and 2 Indian tribal organizations. And the purpose was really just to determine the best practices for increasing fruit and vegetable consumption in children. Well, it had a lot of success in that pilot. So then they expanded it in 2004. And that's exactly what happened as far as they expanded with a reauthorization act. Then they expanded it again in 2006 by an appropriation act. And then in 2008 is whenever it actually became, it was part of a farm bill, that it became part of a program that we offer each year. Now, there are some goals of the program that we want all of you to have, and we want you to be able to expand the variety of fruits and vegetables for your children. We want you to, have them try them, and hopefully this will increase the consumption of their fruits and vegetables. Also, too, you want to make a difference to impact, their present and future health. And we want to also create a healthier environment at school because, we're all about the health of our children. We really want to work towards this. And this program actually helps with those goals as far as everything's, concerned. Another thing, too, I think it's real important that you know how were you selected for this program. One of the biggest thing is you have to be in elementary school. Another thing that that schools are chosen have the highest percentage of free and reduced price eligibility. Another thing too, that you have to participate in our National School Lunch Program. And you've also got that to complete an application each year. And the thing, if you're selected, you also must send the grant back to us with the required signatures and keep a copy at the school site. I cannot stress this enough during this PowerPoint. You may hear this another time, that you must make sure that you get all the signatures and get those signatures sent in to us prior to starting the program. Now then, also too, that USDA encourages that you do every effort to provide those fresh fruits and vegetables, a minimum of twice per week. We want to make sure that you do a variety of implementation strategies. You want to make sure you try and you do different things as far as that's concerned. And we also strive that you do some, nutrition education along with it, if you're able to do that, because it's so important that children understand, how important it is to eat those foods that you're providing for them. Now then, one of the things, since you've been selected, you're going to receive funds based on an allocation of about $50 to $75 per student based on the school year prior to this time, as far as that's concerned. So you need to make sure that you know that, and that you're going to get it is from the previous year, not the current year, and it's your October enrollment. You also need to submit a monthly claim on time, And that's a separate selection that is in CARS. And your claims are due on the 15th of the month. As far as everything's concerned, your claims are always due on the 15th of the month. And then you also have to comply. There's a handbook. I did send you the link when I sent out the email. However, that handbook is very, very important that you abide by it as far as that's concerned and go through with it. Now then, your FFVP grant goals, what's interesting about this grant is it's for that fund for that site only. So keep in mind that even if, and this happened when I was over the program, we had a school actually shut down, completely shut down. And when that happens, unfortunately, those funds can't go anywhere else. So keep in mind that once that school's decided on their funding and their budget, you can't move it to another school site. Even though that school site may have the program, it is very program specific. Also keep in mind is try to really stay in your budget, because we cannot give you any more additional funds. There's a set budget, there's a set what you need to be spending, and you're welcome to use your general fund if you want to spend more, but honestly, this is all that we can provide you. Another thing too that I cannot stress enough to all of you, we are going to allocate you money, please spend it. It's going to be the first time you're ever going to go to your produce vendor, your produce, wherever you get your produce and say, hey, I have X amount of dollars. I need to spend every dime of this. So we want you to spend it because this is how your children are going to benefit. And the grant is only for the federal fiscal year. So remember, it is going to be an October 1st to September 30th grant. So bear that in mind too as well. Now then, remember that it's very important you know who's participating. And one of the things you need to know that it's going to be your all the children that attend the school. Keep in mind that whenever you have this grant, there's going to be only the teachers who are directly responsible for serving the fruit or vegetable to the students are the only ones that can have be a part of the program. The problem that you're going to have, and this is going to happen, I actually had a really good experience. I can tell you, well, not good experience, but it happened. I had a school and they wanted to order an extra case of fruit. And I said, oh my goodness, what's going on? Did you have this huge increase in enrollment, et cetera? Well, what happened at this particular site is the librarian, the custodian, everybody wanted a piece of the fruit that she was serving or the vegetable that she was serving. And I had to kindly explain to her that, no, you really can't do that. You really only need to have the teacher that's involved with the children because you want that teacher to be the person who's an example for them. And as far as that's concerned, it's just very, very, very important that you make sure that they are the ones that are only ones that are involved in it. Now then, if they are considered enrolled children who are attending a child care center, Head Start, or a split day kindergarten class located in the within the FFVP school that was chosen. Now then, here's one thing, like I just said earlier, FFVP cannot be given to adults helping in the classroom or visiting. As I said before, custodians, librarians, principals, school secretary, counselors, and any other personnel. And trust me, it's going to be asked and they're going to want it, but you're going to have to really restrict it because the budget is really for the children to try the fruits and vegetables. And they really need to understand that as far as that's concerned. Now then, one thing about it is that's what's really good about FFVP is we want you to somehow publicize the availability of these fruits and vegetables. And this can be a really good thing because it's a great public relations type thing for your school because you're giving them something new for them to try, or you're giving them something super healthy for them to try as well. So really try to really promote it in that sense of the positive aspects of it. And honestly, and we want you to make sure that you do publicize it. Another thing too, we want to make sure that you serve it during the school day. It can't be taken home in a backpack and it can't be given to them before the school day starts. So just be sure that you serve it during the school day outside of your National School Breakfast, outside of the school breakfast program, National School Lunch program. Also, yes, you just need to make sure it is, or the after school snack program. And also too, it cannot be used as part of the reimbursable meal. Just be aware of this. This is not like DOD fresh fruit and vegetable. This is a grant program that's wanting to provide fruits or vegetables outside of meal service. Now then, another thing too that you have to be aware of is that these fruits and vegetables cannot be used as a reward or punishment. So in other words, a teacher can't tell their class, I'm sorry, you can't have our snack today because you misbehaved. They really can't do that at all. Please make sure that you be very careful about that, because sometimes teachers will say, oh, I don't want to pick it up today. My kids were all bad today. No, they need to have their little, they need to try their fruit or vegetable, because it's really not there for them to say, you know, Susie was not good today, so she doesn't get her extra, you know, her sample to try. And also to keep in mind that this program is only during the school year on the days that schools are in session. So be careful about that. Remember, if you're doing summer food service program or seamless summer option, you cannot serve FFVP during that time. And also too, it's very, very important that you also, this is like any other program USDA has, you've got to keep some type of record of what's being served and the leftovers. And what's easy to do, what we did with our schools when we had it, is we just added an extra line to our production menu, and it was right there. So they knew exactly what to do. So we make sure that you keep a record of what all is going on as far as that's concerned. Okay, and then you've got your school procurement guidelines that you need to be following. So you need to make sure that you are following guidelines whenever you go, because this is a USDA program. You also need to keep in mind of the Buy American, the requirement in the National School Lunch, School Breakfast program. Procurement can include the fruits and vegetables used for other school programs. They must be tracked separately. Keep in mind, this entire program is going to be tracked separately from your other program. Another thing too, schools right now that have a food service management contract, make sure it is part of your contract. This grant also supports the use of farm to school. And so you really want to make sure that you are, if you can, I mean, I know sometimes it's hard in some of the areas you're in, if you can use our local farmers or local growers, that is wonderful. That's great. That's just a better utilization. And also it's a great teaching tool for the children as well. Some of the things on this program that you're prohibited from actually purchasing is if you purchase like processed or preserved fruits and vegetables. Be very, very careful about that. Be careful that you're not allowed to purchase dips for your fruit. A fruit or vegetable juice or carbonated juice or fruit beverage cannot also be purchased. Also too, a snack-like fruit product such as fruit strips, fruit drops, or fruit leather. Be very careful, you know, you cannot have those. One of the things that a lot of times your produce companies, or you'll see those wonderful grapples, they've been injected with fruit flavorings. Those are not allowed on this program. Also, jelly fruit and smoothies. And I can't tell you enough, just be really careful, because sometimes the produce companies will say, hey, we've got this product, it's packed in its own juice. I remember one specifically, it was peaches. He said, oh, we've got these peaches, they're packed in their own fruit. And my first comment to him was, is the skin on the peaches? And he looked at me and said, well, no. I said, well, that's something that we really can't use because that's really not considered a fresh product. It's been processed. So just so you're aware of things like that. Also too, some of the things that this grant is going to limit you on is we want to offer your low-fat yogurts, you know, or other not low-fat dips. They, you know, do let you use those, but in very minor proportions. And that amount served is limited to the serving size on the nutrition facts label, which is usually 1 to 2 tablespoons. And sometimes there are certain vegetables that you just have to prepare. And the one that always comes to my mind is Brussels sprouts. I mean, how many of you eat raw Brussels sprouts? If you have to cook something just slightly, okay, to make it palatable for those children to eat, you must include nutrition education for that item served. So just so that you're aware of that too as well. Now then, when it comes to the FFB grant, there are two types of reimbursable costs, and they fall into two categories. One of the categories is the operating cost. The other category is going to be the administrative cost. We're going to go over those just a little bit in just a few minutes. And first of all, we're going to go over operating costs. You know, as far as that's concerned, we're going to go through that one first. And they are the costs that are to run the FFVP service. These are the documented expenses for acquiring, delivering, and serving fruits and vegetables. So in other words, the buying of your fruits and vegetables, low-fat dip for the vegetables only, buying non-food items, like you're going to need napkins, paper plates, possibly, maybe bowls or trays, cleaning supply, trash bags. Also, this is going to include your salary and fringe benefits for employees whenever they go to wash and chop the produce and distribute that to the classrooms. Then we're going to talk a little bit about administrative costs. These costs are limited to about 10% of your school's total grant. The cost is for planning the program, managing paperwork, obtaining equipment you need, etc. Purchasing and leasing equipment such as refrigerators, coolers, or carts. Salaries and fringe benefits for employees who compile and maintain the claim, plan, and write menus. That just gives you a little breakdown of those two. Now then, the reimbursable cost is only the fresh fruit and vegetable portion of the operating and administrative expenses can be claimed on this program. So for instance, you buy a piece of equipment, even if it's a knife, it can be purchased with the funds, but you've got to be able to make sure that that knife or whatever it is prorated to the use of what it is for this program. So just bear that in mind. Anyway, that's just, you have to just make sure that it is as far as that's concerned. Now, there's something about the nutrition education. We love for you to have it. It's not required unless, as we talked about earlier, it is a prepared vegetable that you're serving your children. However, I think that's real important that you know that it's very important that you provide it, even though it's optional, so the children can learn a bit more about it. But one of the things that FFVP does not provide you is for a budget for that. So just be aware of that. But there is a lot of ways that you can incorporate in their lesson plans about the fruit or vegetables. You can even put in a monthly newsletter about them. You can also, in their backpacks, send like menus home, or you can put on the website. You can put little nutrition things in their backpack, things of that sort. But keep in mind, it's not required, it's highly recommended, and there is not a budget for it as far as that's concerned. And here's some just free resources that you can find. And one of the key resources is whoever you're buying your produce from, oftentimes will have things that you can use to give to teachers or to give to your students or hand it out to them about produce. But USDA has some really good things, Team Nutrition, My Plate, and as I said earlier, they're your produce vendor. That's really, really good as far as that's concerned. Now then, I knew this question might come up, but if you have a child that has a disability that prevents him or her from consuming fresh fruits and vegetables as prepared, the school must provide accommodations that they would for school meals. So this still applies as far as that's concerned. You'll have to provide some accommodations for that child that possibly can't have a certain fruit or vegetable, or has a little bit more difficulty with that as far as that's concerned. Now then, a lot of things I think that are super important is that we go over some best practices, things that you need to do possibly, or might help you make your program the best program ever. We want to make sure that you look over your application, because in it kind of tells us how you're going to serve it. One of the biggest things I will tell you, you've got to get your staff to buy into this program. It is a great program. It's a wonderful program. But honestly, I know some of you are invited to staff meetings with teachers, etc. Get not only your kitchen staff, but the other staff members to buy into this program. because this will introduce new fruits, new vegetables, etc. to the kids. And also too, something that's very, very important is to pay attention to your logistics. What's going on? Who actually does what within your program? Sometimes you're going to have to tweak that a little bit because certain things go on in the school or things happen. But just be sure that everyone has a real good understanding of what their role is in this program. Also, too, you need to really establish a monthly budget because remember, I can't tell you enough times, spend everything we give you because if you don't, it goes back to the US. It goes back and it leaves Oklahoma forever. So we just need to make sure that you spend every bit of the money that you have. And what's real important to do that is establish a monthly budget. Make sure that you know how much you're going to spend each month. And the other thing too, I can't tell you enough because it's a mistake some of us have made before. You just have to be careful about what days schools are off to as well, because of course your December budget may be a lot smaller than maybe your October budget or your maybe your February budget. So just be aware of which days the school's out or they have staff meetings, etc., so that you can plan your budget appropriately. And I can't say this enough, be flexible with the time and place. It sometimes when you're in, especially when you're in a bigger district, you want to set a time, like at 2 o'clock, you want everybody to be served FFVP. That may not work at this one particular site. So be flexible with your time when you want to serve. If they want to serve it in the morning and they think that's the best time, go with them. It's really our goal of this program is to introduce those new fruits and vegetables to the kids. And also to mainly just make sure you work, with everyone to promote the program as much as you can, as far as that's concerned. Also too, another good practice is within other documents, if you look under FFVP, we have a little monitoring form. And I strongly advise, it's not required, that you pull that form out and you use it once the program started a few weeks into the program, because that way you can find out kind of how to improve your program and make it a little bit better. And I can't stress enough that be sure the fruits and vegetables are appealing and easy to grab. Now they do a lot more of the pre-cut. When this program first started, it didn't have a lot of pre-cut, but now they really, really do. And sometimes too, always as you do, I know when you get your produce in, check it, make sure that it's fresh, etc. And then of course you want to provide a variety of new fruits and vegetables and make sure they're seasonal. And a lot of, if you'll go online or if you need to, you can email me, you're welcome to. I'll help you find calendars that show seasonal fruits and vegetables. That's how I did them. And I think they're really fun, as far as that's concerned. And it's even fun, myself, when I worked with the program, to introduce, even though, children love oranges, but they make a blood orange. It's red in color when they open it up. It's really cool. Or even if you want to serve them apples, serve them something like a Honeycrisp that we all know that's really pretty expensive in the grocery store. You can, like I said, there's a lot of things you can do with this program, which is super, a lot of fun, and you can have a lot of fun with it. Be sure to document your leftovers. And oftentimes, if you have enough possibly for a classroom, you can give an extra an extra serving of that leftover, maybe on another day at a different time to a different classroom, and possibly rotate which classroom you give the leftovers to. And then I would definitely look into your pre-cut. But when you get to pre-cut, I will tell you, you've got to have space to put them because oftentimes those do require refrigeration when they're pre-cut. But do look into them because there's a huge variety of pre-cut things that you can get now. Some of the best practices when it comes to distribution, I can't stress this enough, use a variety of ways in a variety of your schools. There's not a perfect way to do this program. Sometimes I've seen schools do it inside the classrooms. That's why I find the best method, because then you've got the teacher possibly talking about the fruit or the vegetable they're eating. Sometimes I've seen them done where they're in hallways or they're in kiosks, if you have those. And I've even seen them put in vending machines where they can go and pick the fruit they want as far as that's concerned. There's a lot of techniques that you might want to think about depending on the age of the children, the maturity of the children, and the type of fruit or vegetable. You always have to keep that in mind whenever you are purchasing and buying these fruits and vegetables for the different age groups. Now then, there is on the administrative review, just so that you're aware of it, there is a small section on it. And what they're going to do whenever they come out to review your school, they're going to look at what's being purchased to, of course, to ensure that it's, you know, the fresh fruit or vegetable. They're also going to track and look at to see if you're spending all the money or you're on track at least to spend all that money. And they may even observe the fruit or vegetable time of service just to observe the children having that particular item. Now then, soon the state agency is going to let you know how much you're allocated. You'll be allowed to claim for reimbursement. So just so you're aware of that. Now, I can't say this either. The money cannot be transferred to another elementary school or an FFVP grant elementary school. That money is specific for that particular school site. And claims are due on the 15th of each month. And the district, please, 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 I can't tell you enough, spend all the money we give you. Because once again, it goes back. If we don't spend it in Oklahoma, it goes back. Now then, for those of you who do the OCAS coding, here is a slide that I have for you on the OCAS coding. And it is going to be your fund, whichever fund you use. Your program code is going to be 700. Your revenue is going to be 4760. Your project reporting code is 768. So that just gives those who do the who are working on those funds. Okay. Now then, we're going to talk a little bit about the claim and how you can do your claim. These claims are fairly easy in CARS. You'll have to go, of course, to CARS to be able to and open up the claim side to be able to do the claim. And so that makes it, and then you're going to click on the month, of course, like you would do a normal claim. Then you're going to click on the school that actually has FFVP. And then you're going to the site claim data and click on the drop down. And then, of course, you're going to select that FFVP. Now then, it's divided into 3 forms. Worksheet A is going to be the actual cost of the fruit and vegetable. Worksheet B are small supplies and labor. And worksheet C is going to be your larger purposes. And just keep in mind, I can't reiterate this enough or tell you many times, you've got to keep this grant separate from everything else that you do. I mean, you just have to keep everything, they have to be separated. Now then, this is how your screen will look when you open up the site. Now then, please make sure you put in the number of operating days. You see that right there where it says operating days? Oftentimes people forget to put that in and that will kick it. It won't save it if you don't do that. And at the bottom of the page, it shows the amount of money that was remaining in the school site for the FFB grant budget. To get this total, put in the operating days and click save. So I've highlighted it in red. You can see it will figure out how much you have left in your budget, you know, as far as that's concerned. To begin your grant claim, click on Worksheet A. The next slide shows you what it's going to look, it's what it's going to look like. So our next slide is going to show that. There it is right there. Okay. The information you will put in Worksheet A is your operating cost. And the category description, a person can pick either fruit or vegetable. The example I have up there shows a fruit. Each fruit or vegetable served must be put in individually. And I know that can be a little bit time consuming, but it's really not as bad as you think as far as that's concerned. But you do have to put them in individually. And make sure you save the data prior to leaving the page. Then click on the claim at the top of the page. Worksheet B is going to show your operating labor cost. Now this is going to be optional. And it's, you know, category, you're going to put the category of what it is. You're going to click that drop down box, description of what it is, and you're going to put in that labor costs. And do not forget to save your information prior to leaving this page. After save, click on claim on the top left side of the page. Worksheet C is going to be your administration costs. This is optional. You know, same as the other worksheets, fill in each column. Don't forget to save before leaving this page. Click on claim to return to the home page. Your final step is going to have to be to save and to certify this, this claim as far as that's concerned. Now then, we're going to go over a few food safety tips, which most of you probably are well aware of this. We want to make sure that you buy this produce correctly. You choose produce that is not bruised or damaged. Make sure that when you're buying the pre-cut or bag produce, make sure it is surrounded by ice or refrigerated. Now, you need to make sure you store those perishable goods and vegetables in a very clean refrigerator at 40 degrees or below. And then best to refrigerate all, or I should say, best to refrigerate all pre-cut or packaged produce. If you can, I mean, I know sometimes you can't store it. So if you cannot, just be aware of that and just make sure when the children receive it, it's super fresh still. Also to keep your hands washed, cut away the damaged or bruised areas when you're preparing it. Wash the produce thoroughly, unless the packaging states you don't need to do this. And even if you do not plan to eat the skin, you need to make sure you wash that thoroughly. Now then, another thing too, if you're serving sprouts at all, you must be very careful with those, and it's best to cook them thoroughly. And keep, of course, your fruits and vegetables separate from your raw meat, poultry, and seafood. And always keep your cutting utensils and boards very clean. Okay, this includes our fresh fruit and vegetable program grant training. And if you have any questions, please put them in the chat for everyone, and we'll be glad to answer your questions. So if there's not any questions at all, are there any questions? Okay. I don't see any more. We can now conclude this training. I'm so glad everyone was here for it. Thank you so much. As far as that's concerned, if you have any, you're welcome to email myself or email any of your program specialists, or Rhonda Stevenson really is the one who takes care and helps you with your claims. Becky Gray, any of us will be more than happy to help you with questions that you have regarding this program. Thank you so much for being here today.